Before I had started working on this video, I asked my friends if they knew who Sky the Nightguard was, and to my surprise, they said no. It was a surprise to me because she was someone who I watched a lot when I was younger. Sky the Nightguard was a more FNAF-oriented YouTuber back around 2016 who made animation memes and had her own series. She is more known for her animation memes, as most of them have over 1 million views. Sky does still do YouTube, by the way, but it's just not FNAF content anymore. I used to watch her a lot when I was younger and was really impressed that she would animate in MS Paint. I had known about her series, but I kind of forgot what happened in it, so in this video I will be discussing her FNAF series, The New Nightgaurd. The basic premise of our series was about Sky, her self-insert, becoming the new Nightguard at Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria and discovering their secrets. The series is unfinished with only 8 episodes because the creator herself said it was cringy and the story made no sense. Even if it doesn't make sense, I still want to talk about it as it's a series from a creator I used to adore. So, let's dive right into the first episode called Secrets. The episode begins with Jeremy Fitzgerald at work while Mike Schmidt runs in late. Mike asks him if he knows where his flashlight is, and Jeremy tells him it's at the corner of the table. We get a meanwhile screen and see what Purple Guy, aka Vincent, is up to. Yes, Vincent, not William, because this was 2016 before William Afton was his name. I guess this is also a good time to mention that Sky uses the Rabornica designs for the Night Guards, except for a few changes here and there. It's not that important, but I think it's slightly funny because it really shows how old school FNAF it is. Anyway, Vincent walks into the parts and services room with a grin on his face, powering on all the withered animatronics. Why does he do this? No real reason, other than to tease them about how they'll never be able to catch him, and then specifically says to an unknown animatronic, even if there's something special, they won't get him either. And after he leaves, the mystery animatronic replies with, "I will." When Vincent leaves, he asks himself what he's even doing. And that's what I'm wondering too. We cut back to Jeremy and Mike. Mike asks Jeremy the question of why he hides his eyes. This is where Sky's designs differ from the OG Rabornica designs. Instead of the question mark, he has a shadow that, I guess, hides his eyes. I think it would have made more sense if it was like hair, because realistically, how do you conjure up a shadow to cover up your eyes at all times? But their skin tone is literally gray and there's dead children possessing robots. What am I to question? Jeremy is hesitant at first to show Mike, but he trusts him enough and shows him. Whoa! One of his eyes is gone? Blacked out? I don't know how to describe it, but it's not normal. Before Jeremy explains the story of his eye, an animatronic pops up. There's a quick frame to see who it is, and it's a white and red fox animatronic. Someone new. Mike flashes the animatronic with his flashlight and it runs away. Unfortunately, his flashlight doesn't work anymore. Jeremy is worried, but Mike quickly reassures him that they're alright with a simple Jep. Which I assume is like yep, but with a J. Like it's some 2010s Derp XD humor that I never saw before and only with her, but I could be wrong. Jep, let's keep going. The story of Jeremy's eyes, basically when he was younger, after Foxy had bitten Mike, Foxy then ripped Jeremy's eye afterwards. So I guess Mike is the victim of the bite of 87 in this? Whatever. But before Jeremy went unconscious, a girl, presumably his sister, came out of the crowd to get him. He was then taken to the hospital and clearly survived. Unfortunately, he never saw his sister again. He barely even remembers anything about her, like her name. Mike is then seen crying about the story. So, my question is, if Mike was there at the bite, why did he only hear about Foxy attacking Jeremy now? The creator said that the story didn't make sense, who cares? Fritz then shows up earlier than his usual shift, so he can introduce the new Nightguard. Title of the series, roll credits. Mike assumes it's another guy, but no, it's a girl, and that girl is Sky. She comes out and timidly introduces herself. Then Mike and Jeremy introduce themselves. Before that, though, Jeremy quickly hides his eyes again, and Sky questions it. Jeremy gets too nervous to answer, but she tells him it's okay. So it turns out Sky is taking this shift, which is a little odd considering Jeremy and Mike were already there. Maybe she should have been working the next day, but it doesn't matter. She's taking this shift all by herself. While Sky works her shift, she questions why the animatronics would want to stuff her into a suit. She gets up from her post and decides to explore, finding the employees only room, aka parts and services. Someone comes up behind her with the FNAF 2 echo noise playing, and suddenly she gets dragged in and tied up. It turns out it was Withered Freddy, and he came to warn her about a murderer that's roaming the restaurant who killed them. She's confused at first before he tells her that he's a dead kid possessing an animatronic and shows his spirit. That's completely normal, not weird at all, but why did Freddy immediately trust Sky? Why didn't he tell the other night guards? Are the other night guards too scared to roam around and get told secrets of the pizzeria? Does Freddy only trust Sky because she's a woman? Questions that aren't answered. Before she can get an answer to who the killer is, Freddy shuts off. Vincent walks up after and yells about how dumb the animatronics are, and sees Sky tied up, and then it has a to be continued screen. The first episode is actually around 8 minutes, and so is the second episode, while the rest are 4 to 6 minutes, which is kind of impressive for someone making a series by themselves. Granted, it's mainly still images most of the time, and there isn't voice acting, but Sky was probably around my age, I'm guessing, which is a teenager, and so it's impressive enough. Now, on to episode 2. Who's the killer? This episode opens with an actual intro with all the characters. Jeremy, Scott, Mike, Fritz, Vincent, and Sky. I actually have no clue who Scott is, but we'll probably meet him soon enough. The episode actually starts with where we left off, and Vincent asking who Sky is. Sky tells Vincent that the animatronics captured and tied her up, but not actually, because apparently the animatronics can't tie knots. We get a nice, roleplay text on the side saying there's blood on the rope instead of showing it, which is a bit funny and never happens again, it's only in the scene. Vincent tells her it's 6 a.m. and she needs to leave back to the office because the animatronics might think she's dead and stuff her in an animatronic suit. Sky asks for his name because she was almost just gonna call him Purple Guy. Hey, a sort of reference to his non-fanon name, I guess. He tells her his name, and it's fine because most people just call him Purple Guy anyway. He reiterates that she has to leave, and she does so. But as she expects, I guess, Jeremy is freaking out about her maybe being dead with Mike. She gets their attention and jokingly asks if they missed her. Mike replies in the same tone, teasing Jeremy with, well, let's say that one of us missed you very much and thought you were dead. Oh, and it turns out Sky and Jeremy are siblings. Surprise! Both Jeremy and Mike are shocked to find out this news, saying, it's really you? It turns out she was pretending not to know who they were when they first met, and she wanted to come work at Freddy's for a certain reason that we never get told, and meeting Mike and Jeremy was pure coincidence. But now she has to go home. We cut to Sky meeting Scott. So I guess Scott is a part of the day shift? Anyway, he asks her about how working night shift is, and she tells him the animatronics are her main problem. Scott says that they're being repaired soon, and before I continue with the episode, just this specific scene, I have to point out his text color. His text color is bright red, which would be fine, but it blends in with the brown color of the stage, and I'm just being nitpicky. I don't know, she could have just changed the color. It's something. Anywho, Sky asks if someone is repairing the old animatronics, and when Scott says yes, but he's busy, she immediately says she can do it because she has experience with machines. Scott is fine with her doing it and says he'll tell the other guy, Vincent, that she's going to be working on them too. She's visibly a bit shocked, but when asked if she's okay, she says she is. We see her walking to parts and service saying she needs to question them before anyone comes in. When she's in and calls for the kids, Freddy's spirit possesses her and shows her a flashback to Vincent. She now knows Vincent is the killer and how he stuffed the kids' dead bodies into the animatronics. Freddy's spirit then explains the whole story of how Vincent stayed at his job, which was complaining about the stench, and to fix the problem he just built new robots. Sky then asks why the animatronics come to kill the guards, and it's because they just lose their control and think all the other guards are Vincent. We then are introduced to that Fox animatronic from the first episode. Turns out she was a failed toy animatronic that had a dead kid stuffed in her later. meaning there are 6 dead kids instead of 5. Sky asks how they can rest in peace, and the only way for them to do that is for their bodies to be burned. But the Fox animatronic's spirit argues back, saying they have to kill Vincent for all he did to rest in peace. Foxy's spirit tells the Fox animatronic, whose name is Annie, that they'd only hurt innocent people and just need help. Annie gets so angry she repossesses her animatronic and demands to know where Vincent is before short-circuiting. Freddy tells Sky to quickly run, and the episode ends with Sky out of the room and the door opening back up to reveal a white pupil. The only things I have to say about the second episode is the inclusion of the OC characters, Scott and Annie. When I was originally writing the script for the first episode, I had put Golden Freddy instead of the anonymous animatronic, because I just assumed it was going to be Golden Freddy, but now it's clear it was supposed to be Annie. I don't hate Annie's design, but it's really reminiscent of the easy recolor FNAF OCs. That's not awful. Scott is an interesting character because, hey look, a new guard for the day shift, that's cool, and I've never seen that done before. Future Zero here, Scott is not an OC character, it's Phone Guy, but without the phone head. I forgot that the phone guy's fanon name was Scott because of Scott Cawthon voicing him. Anyways, to the third episode, Save Her. The third episode starts at the night shift with Sky and all the animatronics turning off. The puppet pops out questioning this until he sees Vincent and calls him Dad? So did he kill his own kid on purpose? In the normal FNAF lore, it's an accident, but in this, does it imply he purposely killed his kid? If the crying child, I'm assuming, is taking the place of Charlie? Anyway, he sees him pull out a knife because he's going to go kill Sky. Sky walks back to the private room to find the door still open. She walks into the dark room to find out her flashlight isn't working, and right when she goes back, Vincent yells, "You can't." She asks who's there, and we get the classic line of, "It's me." Sky quickly escapes while Vincent makes this creepy-ass comment. Walking out, we can see that Vincent did stab Sky as he has blood on his knife, and Sky on the floor with a pretty obvious stab wound. Sky begins to cry as she yells, confused about Vincent's reasons for murder, and asks if he lost someone. His grin goes to a frown as he stops in his tracks, his eyes going from black to white pupils back to his normal pure white eyes. The puppet walks out with a gift in his hand while smiling at Sky. We then see Vincent cry and see family portraits as he asks why he did any of this, which I'm still questioning. Later, Sky asks the puppet about him being the son of Vincent. He explains he died just like his sister, by Circus Baby. He then says most people call it the bite of 83, but it's actually the scoop of 83. Oh, and after he died, Vincent killed his brother. Sky thanks the puppet for healing her, and the episode ends with it being 6 a.m. So, let me get this straight. Elizabeth was killed by Circus Baby. The crying child was also maybe killed by Circus Baby too, but maybe it was worded weird, and then Mike was just straight up killed. Awesome. To episode 4. Pain Senses Past. We're halfway through. This episode begins with Vincent mourning while holding his son's Fredbear plush. Then he starts to wind up a music box that appears to have Spring Bonnie on the front. He then proceeds to sing Springtrap Sorrow by Zolzar? I think that's how it's pronounced. And Sky overhears it. While he sings, we get to see past events that would lead to him turning into the person he is now. The dead children also overhear Vincent singing and feel pity towards him, except Annie, but she also caves in. Vincent does notice Sky after he finishes his song, and she proceeds to tell him, "You're not as evil as I thought. Look, Sky, girl, I love you, but he murdered children? There is no excuse for murdering children. Even Vincent questions if you're joking and says himself that he kills kids. And to call the police, your opportunity is right there. He also tried to kill you, please." But of course, she doesn't do that. Rather, she grabs his hand and says he forgot that he also killed his son, Terrence, Michael Afton in this universe, because he killed Chris, aka the crying child. Vincent, I think, reasonably gets upset because why is this random chick talking about my dead kids? How does she even know I killed them? So then she tells Vincent that the puppet was the one to tell her his entire story, like his children, the accidents, and what happened. He asks why the puppet knows this, and that's because the puppet is Chris, or Kenny, that's his nickname, I forgot to mention that. Vincent can't handle this information that his dead son has been the puppet, the one that's bringing the animatronics to life, and heads back to his office. We cut to Fritz questioning the blood on the floor, and then we immediately cut back to Sky. We see her watching over Puppet while he gives gifts to Tord from Edgeworld. But she then glances over to the Pirate's Cove. She walks in and sees Mangle, and that's where the episode ends. I still think maybe Sky should have called the police. Like, why are we Steven Universing this child murderer? But let's move on to episode 5, called Voice Chip. The episode starts where we were last with Sky and Mangle. Sky tries to talk with Mangle, but unfortunately, Mangle's speech is garbled and just static. It turns out that Mangle's voice chip is damaged, and Sky can easily fix it. And now, Mangle can talk clearly. Mangle gives Sky the whole explanation about why she looks the way she does and where her name, Mangle, comes from. Sky automatically assumes Vincent has something to do with it, but Mangle says she's not alone in this pirate cove because Balloon Boy is here. The reason Balloon Boy is here is because people just straight up found him annoying because he can only say hi, hello, and but no need to fear, Sky can just easily program more words into him. Seriously, if it was that easy that it only took some minutes, I feel like this issue could have been solved way earlier. Now BB can talk in fluent English sentences, but oh no, Mangle's eyes are bleeding black goo and her voice is back to the static in a police radio report. I think it's cool that this references a theory, well, maybe not references since it was made when people believed this theory. The theory is that Mangle's static actually had like a police report, police radio talking about a kid in his frontal lobe because Mangle did the bite of 87. Anywho, both Mangle and BB then shut off because of Vincent, while he has like a psychotic break. I think that's the best way to describe it. Or, well, he's possessed by something because he claims he didn't shut them off. And then he was cut off by the possessed version of himself saying, "It's me." And it turns out it's Shadow Bonnie who possesses him. And Shadow Bonnie is Henry because he was put in the Spring Bonnie suit and was killed. So now I guess he possesses Vincent to make him evil? The episode ends with Henry telling Sky that the animatronics are made to kill, and she'll have to talk to them at night. I think it's sort of odd that Henry isn't on the same team as the dead children, because they were also killed, but that means technically Henry killed them? It doesn't make much sense, but let's just move on to episode 6, A Curious Shadow Friend. The episode starts with Sky getting angry from Henry and one of her eyes turning black with her pupil being white. She blinks it away a little confused at the feeling, but quickly brushes it off. We then see, presumably, the crying child or Chris, Kenny, whatever's Fredbear plush standing in front of the puppet's box before teleporting back to Vincent's office. Vincent says she, most likely referring to Sky, reminds him of another woman in his life. Henry then pops out teasing him, asking, "That was fun, wasn't it?" Vincent yells at him to go away, but of course he doesn't. Once they're gone, Shadow Freddy, who I guess was possessing the Fredbear plush, goes out and finds Sky and Fritz talking to each other. Fritz is confronting Sky about the blood on the floor and how much he worried about her. Sky apologizes for making him worry and is told she should probably go home and rest. Because seriously, how long has she been there, or how many days or hours have passed? But while she leaves, Shadow Freddy quickly comes up behind her and briefly possesses her. We then see Sky at home venting to her dog as she cries on the couch, saying that she found her and that she misses her so much. Shadow Freddy then comes out questioning what she meant as he sees a portrait on the wall. The picture is one of the dead children and her mother, and under the picture is a table with an old newspaper reading, "Single parent lost her only child at Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria." Before I continue, trigger warning for a brief mention of suicide. Go to this timestamp to not hear about it. The newspaper continues about how the police never found her, which caused the mother to be depressed and later hanging herself. Shadow Freddy is very much confused as to why Sky is here if both the kid and the mother are dead, and the episode ends with him saying he'll look into her memories that night. Jesus Christ, was I not expecting this FNAF series to be discussing a mother killing herself over her kid. It's realistic as to what a mother might actually do in that type of situation. It's just surprising for this random FNAF series to talk about it. It's brief, but still. Let's move on to episode 7, Memories and Neighbor Advice. So the episode starts with Shadow Freddy doing what he said he was going to do in the end of the last episode, looking into Sky's memories while she's asleep. What Shadow Freddy sees is Sky as a kid, with her dog sleeping on the floor of an alleyway until a person shows up. We then see her waking up in a house, and as it turns out, the mother from the picture frame had taken her in. We are then shown a mini montage of Sky happily growing up with basically her new mother, which then glitches out and everything goes black. Then an evil version of Sky pops up and starts to choke Shadow Freddy. She's choking him because she thinks that Shadow Freddy, who's purple, is Purple Guy. To which Shadow Freddy quickly explains himself and her eyes go back to normal as she apologizes and disappears. In the morning, I guess Sky and Shadow Freddy got to know each other as she's researching Shadow Freddy's death because he's one of Vincent's victims and is a lost soul. We then see a quick flash of his death that looks similar to the one in the Take Cake to the Children minigame in FNAF 2. Sky's dog, Mutsky, then barks to go see her neighbor, James's dog, Melody, which she is literally dragged into doing. So it turns out James also works at Freddy Fazbear's as a cleaner, which makes Sky ask if he knows Vincent. He then tells her a story of seeing Vincent just yesterday while staying late to clean and seeing a piece of bloody bandage fall from his sleeve to the ground. James tried to ask him if he was alright, but he was completely ignored. The episode ends with Sky at the next night shift staring down Vincent. I don't have much to say about this episode other than the inclusion of another OC character, James. Honestly, when I saw him, I thought it was a woman, but no, it's just some guy. Thought this was a beautiful butch lesbian, but it turns out it's that twink from The New Nightgaurd. With my only comment about episode 7 out the way, let's watch the final episode, This Unbearable Pain, which is split into 3 parts. So, actually no, we aren't watching episode 8, we have to watch this animation meme first. I think it's funny that this animation meme has to progress the story, which is technically the most viewed episode of the series. So basically what happens in it is that Sky gets fully possessed by Shadow Freddy, taking on a monsterish look and then full on attacking Vincent, even taking a whole bite of his clothes. She then immediately regrets what she did. We can now watch the actual episode 8. Part 1 starts off with where it ended off in the animation meme. She holds Vincent while he bleeds, saying she didn't want to hurt him nor kill him. She was just full of hate and couldn't control herself. Vincent then forgives her because now at least there's someone else who can feel his pain of being possessed and forced to hurt people that he doesn't want to, but he has no choice. Then, before Sky could fully respond, Henry once again possesses Vincent and stabs Sky. Part 2 starts off with Sky's corpse and Henry telling her sweet dreams. Vincent starts to cry because once again Sky reminds him of her, to which Henry tries to argue off by saying it's not important because she's dead. Then when looking back, her corpse is gone because the puppet and Shadow Freddy took her away. Turns out that Sky isn't dead and is still alive. Silly Henry forgetting to check her pulse, but the puppet might be able to heal her. Henry then bangs on the walls in frustration as he can't find her, but he says she'll probably be in the only spot left, with the animatronics. The third and last part starts off with Sky being in a spring Bonnie suit, with Shadow Freddy asking if she'd be safe. Since it's a spring lock suit, all she has to do is not move much. A unknown man, maybe Mike, watches Vincent on the cameras, saying he finally got him. The toy animatronic security mode then activates, which Henry notices. He decides he's going to hide in the hidden room where maybe he'll also find Sky. We then cut to Sky in the spring Bonnie suit waking up. She's obviously terrified, and to make matters worse, an anonymous voice starts to talk to her. But it's not actually for the worse, it's just Golden Freddy / Fredbear telling her not to move. Fredbear proceeds to explain the whole spring lock mechanic to Sky, to which she is now more terrified than before, and asks where she is. He tells her that she's in a hidden room that's behind the walls and is closed off, and the only employee who knows how to open it is Mr. Afton, aka Vincent / Henry, who proceeds to walk in. Henry then makes fun of and questions why the puppet would even put her in such a deadly suit, with Henry activating the left arm spring locks. Henry proceeds to talk to Sky about how she did scare him when she attacked him earlier, but now she's just going to die in this golden suit. Shadow Freddy then possesses Sky and flashbangs Henry in the eyes and attacks him with ease. Of course, Henry's confused as to how she can move so easily in the springlock suit, but Shadow Freddy interrupts with a speech about being his dead son. Henry, being choked, then proceeds to lick his lips and bite her, which then I guess activates the spring locks, and she falls to the floor and presumably dies. We see Vincent getting up, questioning his bite strength to Henry, and we find out that Henry was in the form of Shadow Bonnie just to be cute. Anyways, the explanation for his bite making her faint, so I guess she isn't dead after all, but basically his sharp teeth can make any body numb. So I guess Henry and Vincent come to an agreement where Henry won't bother him as he patches up Sky. We see Vincent taking the spring Bonnie suit off Sky, and in the distance we see Henry's spirit and flashbacks to Vincent as a kid. It turns out he is William Afton, and he just doesn't like the name. We then cut to who I thought was Mike, but maybe a new guy who was on the cams, with him complaining about the toys not finding Vincent and how he'll have to wait till 6 a.m. It fades to black, to just the guy's red eyes and how he's right behind Vincent, and that's where it ends. There technically is another animation meme that goes with the story, but it's just Vincent's backstory, and it has some triggering topics, but honestly it isn't important because the series never continued. Honestly, it was really fun looking back onto this nonsensical series that was kind of confusing. It's sort of sad it was never continued, but Sky grew older and, like I said, still makes content. At the time of recording this, she just streamed, last month. She may not make FNAF content anymore, but she still uses Sky as her own OC, and I think it's nice that she isn't stuck to FNAF and makes other stuff. I hope you enjoyed this video about Sky the Nightgaurd, the new Nightgaurd, and like and subscribe or Lanky Box will fry. Or whatever, I still don't have a proper outro. Oh, also, I said I was going to do a reaction or whatever to the new El Hugheny FNAF movie musical. This video is coming out late, so I'm just gonna put it at the end of this. Here are my quick thoughts, summary of it. I thought it was funny. Okay, objectively, it's bad or whatever. I mean, it's El Hugheny. Whatever. I liked it. I thought it was funny. The reference back to the Springtrap's FNAF 3 musical, I liked it. I thought it was funny. I probably didn't make it obvious in my El Hugheny video, but I do really like El Hugheny. Because he's charming. I really love him. Okay, that's okay. It was a masterpiece. 10 out of 10. Can't wait for the FNAF 2 musical to come out and him make another one. Or someone else on his team animates it, though. So,